What is going on, Summoners? We're back here today with another champion deep dive. He's that former US Marine now fighting organized crime. Today, we're talking about Frank Castle, better known as Punisher. Punisher is one of the toughest vigilantes in the battle realm, and he enters the contest with immunity to wither and a 40% resistance to bleed. Additionally, for every 20% health either champion is missing, Punisher gains an indefinite 20% endurance passive. These max out at 4 stacks. Now, when Punisher is cornered, punishes a special attack, or intercepts a non-mutant opponent, he gains a grit passive for 2 seconds. This grit is paused while Punisher is cornered and when an opponent or their block is struck. Speaking of, Punisher's light attacks can land critical hits through the opponent's block, and his critical hits inflict a bleed debuff for 8 seconds. As a defender, these bleeds scale with base attack only, and against science champions, the ability accuracy of Punisher's personal bleed effects cannot be reduced. When the opponent is inflicted with 8 or more bleed effects at once, he inflicts a 50% bleed vulnerability passive for 15 seconds, and he removes and re-inflicts all of his personal bleed debuffs currently active on them. This will not trigger while it's already active. When Punisher is awakened, whenever a bleed debuff on the opponent expires, there is a 25% chance to inflict a bleed passive for 2 seconds. These bleeds scale with base attack only. Also, Punisher has a very high pain tolerance. When either champion or their block is hit by a first or third light attack, Punisher gains an 8% physical resistance passive. These max out at 20 stacks. And when Punisher is struck by a second medium attack, 1 stack of these physical resistances are removed. But mutants will remove an extra stack. Now, as an attacker, when Punisher would gain a personal physical resistance, he has a 3% chance per physical resistance already active to gain a non-stacking 50% Fury passive for 4 seconds. This Fury is paused during Punisher's special attacks. Now, Punisher knows exactly where to strike his opponents. The first hit of his special attacks grants him a 5% impact passive for every physical resistance he has. And Punisher's heavy attack refreshes all personal impact passives. These impacts have a max stack of 10, last for 20 seconds, and if the opponent is a villain-tagged champion, they last for 40 seconds instead. And at the start of the fight, Punisher gains 1 impact passive if his opponent is a villain-tagged champion. Now, Frank is very stubborn and won't go down without a fight. For every 33% of his max health lost, he will gain an indestructible passive for 4 seconds. This indestructible is unaffected by ability accuracy, and the first 2 health thresholds can only be triggered once per quest. Additionally, Punisher's indestructible is removed and will not trigger when he's inflicted with a marked effect. And if this indestructible triggers during a mutant special attack, the indestructible is delayed until a second after their special attack ends, unless they're tagged as a villain champion. These delayed indestructibles only last 1 second, instead of the usual 4 seconds. Also, as a defender, his personal indestructible passive is paused unless either champion or their block is being struck. When using a mutant champion with a regen effect, this indestructible is not paused. While Punisher is indestructible, his attacks become guaranteed critical hits, and he can land critical hits through block. Now, if Punisher has an impact effect active, during his special attacks, all gunshots into the opponent's block are guaranteed critical hits. As an attacker, on activation of Punisher's Special 2, he purifies all petrified debuffs, and if the final hit of this special lands into the opponent's block, he gains an unstoppable passive for 1.75 seconds, and the opponent is more likely to cower behind their block. While below 1 bar of power, each hit into the opponent's block grants 15% of a bar of power. Now, the first hit of Punisher's Special 1 inflicts a non-stacking 50% injury passive for 20 seconds. And if this attack is activated while Punisher's Unstoppable from the Special 2 is active, it's paused until the end of this attack, and his gunshots deal guaranteed critical hits. Additionally, while his Unstoppable is active, the final hit grants Punisher a 30% precision passive for 10 seconds. While this precision is active, the tick time of all bleed debuffs on the opponent is increased by 300% for the duration of this precision. And when Punisher is awakened, while this precision passive is active, the chance to inflict bleed passives when bleed debuffs expire is increased by a flat 100%. Now, with the Special 3, Punisher gains increased attack rating for each personal endurance, and he also gains more attack if he's indestructible. So, now that we know how he works, if you happen to run into a defending Punisher, be sure to remember that he can land critical hits through block and inflicts bleed debuffs when landing those critical hits. Additionally, every time you strike him with the first or third light attack, he gains a physical resistance passive, making him extremely tanky. Punisher will also gain indestructible passives at 66, 33, and 1% health remaining. While this is active, all those attacks are guaranteed critical hits, and this indestructible is paused unless he's attacking or being attacked. If you use a villain champion, he'll start the fight with an impact passive, so make sure to bring a hero. Also, don't forget, his Special 2 grants him power when striking into block, so be sure to bait that Special 1 when you can. Now, let's take him out for a spin in the champion rotation. To begin, strike the opponent to start building power. Focus on using your light attacks to build up your physical resistance, as these will boost the chance to gain your Fury passive. If needed, you can land an intercept or punish a special to get your grit passive so they don't disrupt your tempo. Build to 2 bars of power, and once there, finish your 5-hit combo and delay your special activation slightly to get your opponent to block. After that Special 2, strike the opponent to build more power and get back to another special and launch it right into their block. From here, immediately launch your Special 1 into their block to increase the tick rate of those bleeds and watch your opponent melt. Now, keep in mind, against villain champions, he gains that impact passive at the start of the fight. But Frank doesn't have that same contempt against non-villain champions. So, use your Special 1 before your Special 2 to get rolling with those impacts, and then watch the defender bleed, bleed, bleed. Thank you for watching this Champion Deep Dive for Punisher. And hey, if you liked the video and want to see more, click subscribe, like, comment, and share. And if you haven't already, join the official Marvel Contest of Champions Discord and come discuss. And remember, we'll see you in the Battle Realm.